D&D Live, Don Elwell, Dan Andrews, and Dan.
Yes.
Just in case you were wondering, it's time. It's time for us to do our debate series. And the debate series, of course, is going to be the first of five consecutive Fridays. We're going to do debates between candidates of all the different races that we have. There's actually 6 races that are on everybody's ballots in August, and so we've got 5 of them that we're going to be doing the debates between the candidates. And this one's kind of an interesting one because this is one that a lot of folks don't know a lot about.
That's right. Yeah, oftentimes you find yourself going to the ballot box and not having researched maybe certain categories. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity to share what the Public Defender's Office does,
yes,
and who the candidates are.
And so Public Defender's Office, again, is one where we'll get into a little bit more details, but it's between Blair Allen and Christopher Desrochers. Those are our 2 candidates for that particular office. And so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of start off with an introduction of each one of you, and we'll give you probably about 3 minutes or so, up to 3 minutes, to introduce yourselves, and then we'll have a couple of questions that we'll ask that either one of you can answer in regards to the office and maybe some of the functionality, just to let people know what a public defender does. But go ahead and let's do the introductions to start with, and we'll go alphabetically. So we'll start with Ms. Blair Allen. Go right ahead.
Thank you so much for having me here this morning. So my name is Blair Allen. I'm running for public defender here in our circuit, which covers Polk, Highlands, and Hardee counties. This race is a universal one on the August 20th election where everyone can vote, regardless of party affiliation. So I'm currently a trial attorney within the Office of the Public Defender. I have been there over 16 years, serving in nearly every division of our office, from the trial division to the appellate division to the administrative division. I am currently one of the felony trial division chiefs, where I supervise other lawyers as well as maintain my own caseload of clients whose constitutional rights I defend every day in the courtrooms of Polk County. And a little bit about me. I grew up in Polk County. I was born and raised in Lakeland, where I still live with my family, Eric Gardner, my husband, who is also an attorney, as well as our 4 children, ages 4 to 13. My father still lives in Lakeland, practices law there. I went to college at a very small school in Virginia called Washington Lee University. I went there thinking I wanted to be a social worker, and then I just fell into the practice of law. So I came back to Florida, went to law school at Stetson College of Law over in St. Petersburg, and then I actually started in 2006 as an attorney with the State Attorney's Office in Bartow. I worked there for a year, and then I very quickly decided that I wanted to be at the Public Defender's Office. So I started the Public Defender's Office in August 2007. A lot of times I get asked the question, how can you defend all those criminals at the Public Defender's Office? And I explain to them, I don't defend criminals, I defend our Constitution. So the 6th Amendment to the Constitution provides everyone the right to a fair trial and the right to effective legal representation if their rights are at liberty and they cannot afford an attorney. And that's where the Public Defender's Office comes into play. We serve as a critical check on government power, protecting against any government overreach, thereby protecting all of our personal freedoms from any bureaucratic abuse and overreach. Effective representation by the Public Defender's Office reduces the risk of expensive retrials and appeals, thereby minimizing the economic burden on our court system, as well as making sure to avoid wasting taxpayer dollars. So real quick, as your next public defender, I would do 4 things. Number 1, I would uphold the Constitution, the rights it affords to all of us. Number 2, I would ensure a fair justice system. Number 3, I would protect against any government overreach. And number 4, I would promote fiscal responsibility. I grew up in this community. I care about this community. I'm raising my family in this community. And I'm a public servant. I've been a public servant my entire career. And the best way that I know how to serve our community and serve all of our clients and better it is by being elected public defender on August 20th. Thank you.
Very good. Okay. Mr. Desrochers, if you would, we'll go ahead and introduce yourself as well.
And thank you very much for having me here this morning. Good morning, Highlands County. My name is Christopher Desrochers, and I'm running for public defender here in the 10th Judicial Circuit. Check out the website, cadforpd.com. Tells you all about me and about where I stand on things. That's cadforpd.com. Basically, I am an attorney and have been a sole practitioner for 31 years. Basically, started my own law practice straight out of law school. So, in the business world, I'm the one who writes the checks. I'm the one who hires and fires people. Some of my practice is civil, although I have a couple of unadvertised specials. I have for many, many years represented people in criminal proceedings, both in state court and in the United States District Court, that's federal court. And I'm currently on the CJA panel in federal court, which is for appointed criminal defendants over there in federal court. Also am a contract attorney with the Public Defender's Office and have been for about 20 years. The civil arm of my business is basically real property, estate planning, and business law. And as part of business law, I do a lot of reorganizations and restructurings of corporations and other businesses. Now, a little bit about me personally. I'm married. I have 2 grown children, one of whom went to law school. Hey, what can I say? And is currently interning at the Public Defender's Office, which I think is pretty cool. The other interesting thing is that I got saved at the University of Florida back in 1989. I consider that one of the hallmarks of my life. Yes, Jesus Christ is actually present at the University of Florida, and he's working there. Hallelujah. Some other things, and where I basically stand on some issues. Basically, the Public Defender's Office, oversimplified, we represent indigent people who can't afford a lawyer. But it's a little bit more than that. As the public defender, you're basically the CEO of a large law firm or a mid-sized corporate firm. And that has a lot of management responsibilities along with it, a lot of management accounting, a lot of fiscal accounting, and a lot of just going out and trying to find money, just like regular folks in regular business world does. And also, we serve as the Jiminy Cricket for the legal system, so that when people come up with bright ideas, we kind of help modulate that in case they're going to do something that's going to get us sued. Appreciate the time. Solicit everyone's vote for the August 20th primary. Thank you.
Very good. All right, so we've got a few just basic questions because, again, as people, a lot of times you go in the ballot box and you'll have a couple, you'll be like, oh, I'm definitely voting for that guy for president and this guy for this. You kind of nail that down. But then you get down to a couple and it's like, I don't even know either one of them. I like the name of that one, or I like the color of their signs, or, something like that necessarily. So,
sure.
Or sometimes not even what the role of that office is.
Exactly. So if you would, let's start off with that one. Tell us what kind of the in detail, the role of the office. I think I know, but the role of the office of what the public defender does, because thankfully I've not had any personal experience myself. But go right ahead. Who wants to take that one?
I go ahead.
Oh,
ladies first.
Thank you, Mr. Desrochers. So the public defender really serves as a couple of different critical roles in our court system. Number one, like I mentioned, we defend people who are charged with a crime or in other circumstances with their liberties that are at stake, like if they're subject to a Baker Act, and they need to have representation. They cannot afford an attorney. They're at or below about 200% of the federal poverty guidelines, or in certain other circumstances that would be a financial problem. But we also serve as an important community safety function. You want a highly skilled, highly effective, highly trained public defender in the courtroom, because if you don't, bad things can happen. Wrongful convictions. You can have people who would have been able to have their day in court, and then they don't, and it comes back and it wastes taxpayer dollars. But during COVID, we saw massive numbers of public defenders quitting throughout the U.S. We had people languishing in jail who didn't have a fair and speedy trial. And when that happens, you can't hold someone indefinitely in jail. So people were being released from jail in other areas of the U.S. It highlighted the critical importance of the public defender's office and what we do, because we are a cog in the system, and the system cannot function without us. So those are a couple of really critical roles that the public defender does.
Very good.
So, Mr. Desrochers, following up on that, why don't you tell us a little bit about how somebody goes about acquiring the services of the Public Defender's Office? And she touched on a little bit of why, but how does that come about? Is that an appointed thing, or can somebody walk into the office and request the services? How does that go about?
No, as a practical matter, that happens either at first appearance or arraignment. And really, in state criminal court, arraignment's basically what you're going to do about a lawyer. It's not about anything more than that. And at that point, unfortunately, with the demographics of criminal defendants, about 90% plus of those folks go, I want the public defender. They fill out the affidavit, everybody looks at it and go, oh boy, that person needs the public defender. And they get appointed the public defender. Now, in cases of conflict, there is the Office of Regional Counsel, which is basically another public defender's office that's appointed. They're a different group, and there's also court-appointed counsel even at the state level through what's called the JAC when the public defender has conflict.
Okay. And you have something to add to that?
Sure. I just wanted to add in that actually a person can apply for the services of the public defender at any time. We have applications at our office as well as at the clerk's office. And so all they have to do is fill out the application, and the clerk will determine that person's indigency status at any point in the case and will appoint the public defender's office.
And that is a truthful statement, because a lot of people come in at arraignment and go, well, I know a lawyer and I'm going to hire him. And then they find out, oh, it costs that much to get a private lawyer, and then they go apply for the public defender.
Okay. Let me ask a couple more internal questions, and then we'll come back with some individual debate ones. And the first one is the public defender's office. How big is it? How many people work there? And what is their roughly their annual budget?
That's a great question. So we have 3 main offices: Bartow, Sebring, and Wauchula. We also have very small branch offices in Winter Haven and Lakeland. We have, in total, about 135 employees. We have attorneys who handle our trial division. We also have appellate attorneys who handle appeals for the 2nd and 6th districts. We have support staff. So we have a very large office, multi-million-dollar budget. It is a situation where you really need to have someone who knows what they are doing to lead that office because of the critical importance that we play in our court system.
Okay. Dan, go right ahead.
Okay, so you just talked about the current status. Why don't I ask Mr. Desrochers? It's often shared that how do you deal with this as they're heinous crimes? You're defending people that have done horrible things. So how does the office, not you as an individual, but how does the office approach that?
Well, that's actually an excellent question, because the simple fact is that individuals are entitled to a fair trial and their rights, and you have to defend them the best you can under the circumstances with the facts that are handed to you. Essentially, public defenders don't create facts. It's really rare when we actually get to create our own set of facts. It's extremely rare. The facts are handed to us. But these folks are entitled to a defense, and we give them the best defense. Sometimes the defense is damage control. And the very first client I ever represented as an attorney was a criminal defendant who, before I got 3 words out of my mouth, told me he did it, he was sorry he did it, and he hoped that this wouldn't screw up his life forever. And at that point, you're in damage control. It's also a key check on government, because we can think of some nations right now where nobody minds the store on defense, and nobody makes the government do its job and prove its case. And we don't want to live in those countries. Okay? That's why we're here.
Very good.
All right.
Dan, I wanted to mention to you as well, by the way, in a brief commercial timeout, if you will, is that this debate, one of our primary sponsors is a huge supporter of this particular debate series, and that, of course, is Air and Electrical Services.
Yeah.
Air and Electrical Services takes care of probably a lot of the air conditioning needs in your Highlands County office down there. I would imagine they do industrial, they do commercial, they do residential. They traditionally have worked with primarily with they work with service all brands, but they sell Comfort Maker, but they just added in Lennox. Yeah, so they got Lennox as well. If you'd like to get in touch with them, 863-402-5664 is their phone number. Again, that's 863-402-5664. Fantastic local company, but you'll see their trucks all over the Highlands County region whatsoever. So give them a call today. Once again, 863-402-5664 for Air and Electrical Services. D&D Live. This is typical debate music, right? I mean, I think it's pretty good. Yeah, exactly. This is pretty fair. Every debate has Led Zeppelin. So anyway, D&D Live, Don Elwell, Dan Andrews, and of course our political debate series, edition number 1. By the way, we just want to let you know now that you're here and trapped and can't get out, that we've never done this before. So this is our first ever debate. We have no idea what we're doing, and there's a good chance that this isn't even on the air. No, I'm kidding. That last part. There's actually thousands of folks listening to us, which we appreciate them listening. And this will be preserved, by the way, in archive for future generations to hear for hundreds of years. So
be careful what you say.
Exactly, and of course, don't forget. So on the primary ballot on August 20th will be I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, or other nonpartisan. You're going to have this on your ballot. There are 6 races on there. This is one of them. August 20th, of course, is the election. Early voting in Highlands County starts August 10th, and the absentee vote by mail ballots are going out now. So you should even possibly even have one in your hot little hands as you're listening to this debate.
Sure.
So as I understand it, this might even be your only Highlands County debate appearance. Is that correct, or you have more?
We do have another one coming up at the Highlands County Republican Club.
Oh, yeah.
But we appreciate this is our first one.
I was going to say this one will have a little larger audience, I think, to it than that one there. But that one will be a fun one for sure. So it's a good group over there. I think I remember seeing you all at that a recent meeting of that. So. Very good. All right, so let's talk a little bit about, of course, kind of a basic question, but we're going to go individually to each one. Why do you feel that you are the best candidate for public defender? We'll start with Blair Allen.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I have worked within the office for over 16 years, serving in nearly every division of the office. I have wide, extensive background in what it is that we do and the way that we defend our clients. I know also the parties involved in our court system. That is so important. Making sure that I have those professional relationships with the prosecutor's office, with the court system, with law enforcement. I am a public servant. I have done that not only in my professional life, but in my personal life. I practice law in a way where others see my relentless work ethic, my dedication, my integrity, and my vision for making sure that we have effective legal representation for everyone and thereby ensuring a fair justice system. I believe in our clients. I believe in what we do as public defenders. I believe in our system. I am an idealist, and I believe in fairness and ensuring that it is fair for everyone. So ask around, and people who know me, people in the legal community, people in the greater community, and they will have positive things to say about me because they know I'm professional, I'm experienced, I'm highly educated, and I care. So that makes me the best candidate for public defender.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Desrochers, the same question to you. Why do you feel that you're the best candidate for public defender?
Well, originally when I started running and when I was asked to run, I thought it was going to be based on the fact that I had a lot of private sector experience, that I could bring private management experience in because I have a lot of experience in management, financial and forensic accounting, and also just running large businesses. But then I took 2 tours of the public defender's office and I found out why folks asked me to run. because, as I said before, I also do reorganizations and revitalizations of companies. And within 20 minutes of my first visit, I noticed that this organization had some real issues. Basically, the organization has been running on autopilot for the last 12 years. There is a wonderful staff out there, particularly on the support staff side. They're wonderful. They've been working for decades there. They have a wonderful corporate culture on that side. But notice I said they've been working for decades. They're about ready to retire. And I wasn't introduced to a single person who was their appointed successor or their right-hand person or anybody like that. There is a huge retirement gap at the public defender's office. And within the next few years, the next public defender is basically going to figure out how this place is going to run for the next 50 years. The other thing I discovered is not a lot has changed in the provision of services and other things since about 1998. I used to go there a lot as court-appointed counsel. I recognized some of the decor from 1998. It was still there. And we have to come up with a new model. Somebody's got to turn the autopilot off. And that's me. The things I notice readily, I can change. Do it all day, every day, doing reorgs.
And the rules of this debate, as we had, we kind of outlined the introduction, but we didn't outline the rules of these individual questions. And so we're giving each candidate 2 minutes, and then if for some reason one of them feels like they need to rebut what the other person said or possibly clarify something that they said, we're giving them an opportunity to up to 1 minute on that. And I just got the finger, the nice one, the nice finger from Blair Allen, and so she just gave me the number 1 finger, which I'm not used to seeing that one, but anyway, so this is a good one. So she would like to rebut that. Go right ahead, Ms. Blair.
Thank you. I just wanted to add in that, having worked at the office during the time that he's talking about, whatever the decor is on the walls, we are a public agency. So we choose to use our taxpayer dollars and your taxpayer dollars in a fiscally responsible way by providing services to our clients through our electronic filing system, through our jail visitation system that can be done remotely from anywhere as long as you have a secure electronic device. So we have had implementations by our current public defender, Rex Stemmig, particularly post-COVID, when we rapidly transitioned from an in-person law practice to a remote law practice in a matter of 2 weeks. So we choose to spend our dollars in such a way for the effective legal representation, not to decorate the office walls.
Okay. All right. Dan, do you want to jump in with a question at this particular point?
Sure,
or
absolutely.
Go right ahead.
Let's continue on this trend. And my question to you, Chris, is this. You started to tackle it, and let's continue it. So what is the present status of the office and the operations within the office, and what would you change if given the opportunity?
All right. I already addressed the retirement gap issue on the administrative side. Let's talk a little bit about the lawyer side. Right now we have a couple issues on the lawyer side. There are way too many caseload assignments on the felony division. They're averaging 137 cases per attorney. All right? And that's way too much. The caseload should be about 65 to 70 tops. And it's demoralizing the staff. That's one of the things that I noticed right off talking to the attorneys in the felony division. They're demoralized. And it hurts us also getting in new attorneys because they're hearing about the caseloads. And I've got third-year law students who would prefer to stay unemployed than submit their resume to the public defender's office and get hired. That's an issue. We've got to change that. There's ways that we can do that, and I have a plan to implement those changes and keep the existing staff we got and basically create a different corporate culture over there, especially on the lawyer side, so that we can get people to actually submit their applications and resumes to the public defender's office again and decide that it's better to come to us than to pick trash up off the street.
Okay, very good. And Dan, we'll ask the same question of Blair Allen.
Same question to you, Blair. What is the current status of the office, and if given the opportunity, what would you change?
So I love working at our office. It is a wonderful environment in which to work, and I hope to only continue to add to that. We have some of the best attorneys in the 10th Judicial Circuit who are dedicated to providing services to our clients, not for the money, but because they care. We are supported by a support staff who is excellent, top-notch, and will go out of their way every time to try to help us. I would, though, seek to implement some changes that would allow us to retain our staff. Across the state of Florida, the annual turnover rate right now for public defenders is about 28%. So we want to figure out creative ways that we can keep those skilled employees and keep them. Now, we are on you want me to...
No, you're good.
Oh,
You're
okay.
good. I was actually...
Okay. We do want to make sure that we remain fiscally responsible, but there are other ways to create a creative work environment. We need to figure out additional ways to implement technology into our office, thereby that eliminates some of the rote and routine work that some of our employees have to do, and instead allowing us to focus on the meaningful, complex issues. Also, I would like to see our public defender, the elected one, be more out in the community, educating our community about civics, about the role of the public defender's office, educating our youth about different laws, about the ways that they can keep out of our system. That is such a critical role of the public defender and what we can do moving forward. There's a quote that I love that says that if service is beneath you, then leadership is above you. And that's what I hope to be as the elected public defender, a public servant.
Very good. And as we know, time flies when you're having fun. And time has flown in this very, very first little half-hour segment, if you will. We're going to basically pick up. I think Mr. Desrochers would like to have a little rebuttal on that. We'll refresh that at the very top of the hour. But we'll join you in just a couple minutes. Stay tuned. Don Elwell, Dan Andrews. Hour number 2 begins, and of course we are in the middle of our candidate debate, number 1 of the 5-part series, if you will, and this course is for the race of public defender, Circuit Judicial Court number 10, I believe is number 10, right? 10th District, yeah. So, and of course that covers Highlands, Hardee, and Polk counties. As was discussed in the first hour, there's 135 or so employees. And Dan, you had a question that we had asked to kind of finish off the first hour, and I think Mr. Desrochers wanted to make a rebuttal. So why don't you go ahead and refresh everybody what that question was, and we'll go from there.
Yep. So we asked both candidates, and they were able to respond to what they thought the current status of the office was, and if there were any changes they would make if elected. And I think Mr. Desrochers had a rebuttal that he would like to share. So go ahead.
Very brief. Thank you. One of the first things I would like to do as public defender is hire a chaplain for the public defender's office. Everybody has personal problems. Everybody has issues. And even the Flying Tigers had 99 crack pilots and 1 chaplain. So I'd like public defenders, I'd like support staff to be able to talk to somebody in the office confidentially instead of having to talk to a bartender or a drug dealer who's just going to cause more problems. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Dan, I think that my question is next here, and this is really more of, because a lot of us are, in Highlands County, I'm sure you've seen the makeup of the voters and such of Highlands County, so this is kind of one that, are you Republican, Independent, Democrat, and do you consider yourself to be liberal, conservative, or moderate? And then the big question with that, because they're going to fill up 2 minutes, is, and how will that help you in this position if you're elected? So Republican, liberal, conservative, or moderate, and how will that help you? And Blair Allen, you are first to respond to this one.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So this is a partisan race. So public defenders do run with a political affiliation. I am a Republican. I'm a conservative Republican. And that helps a lot in this current administration of Florida. As you know, we're funded by the Florida legislature. We receive our money through the legislature as approved by the governor. Having those strong connections in our Republican legislature is critical in better funding our public defender's office. Throughout this campaign, I've met a lot of wonderful people, potential legislators and legislators that I hope to continue those connections so that we can better serve our clients and get the money that we need to provide those services. This is a divisive time in politics right now, but I believe that in unity and unifying the party, as well as unifying our goal in ensuring equal justice for our clients and thereby benefiting the criminal justice system and the community as a whole.
Okay, very good. And Mr. Desrochers, again, the question was, are you Republican or not, or Democrat or independent, I guess is the best way to put it. Here in Highlands County, though, it's pretty much, are you Republican or not? But anyway, so Republican or Democrat or no party, what is your affiliation? Do you consider yourself liberal, conservative, or moderate? And again, how do you feel that will help you in this position if you are elected?
Well, thank you. It's a really important question because there are Republicans out there that aren't Republicans. They're rhinos, Republicans in name only. And I can tell you this, I'm a Reagan kid. I registered as a Republican in 1986 when being a Republican was not cool. And ever since then, I've been a conservative Republican. I stand very strong on protecting Second Amendment and stand your ground rights. And you need a conservative person in the public defender's office who's willing to do that. I watched a federal public defender's office try to give a CLE, continuing legal education presentation on the Second Amendment, and they were all cringing while they were doing it because they were all liberals, and pretty much the criminal defense bar tends to be on the liberal bent, and I'm kind of a rare bird there. I've always found my conservatism to actually be a critical advantage in criminal defense because, by and large, most of your judges are basically conservatives. Nearly half of all the judges in the 10th Judicial Circuit were former state attorneys. They're all conservative. Okay, I know how conservatives think. Because I'm a real conservative. I'm a real Republican. I know how they think, and because of that, I can tone my arguments in a way that reaches their viewpoints, the way they think. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to agree with me 100% of the time, but at least they're willing to listen. I've seen other defense attorneys argue liberal, and the judges turn off just like that. And it's a huge difference. There's different ways of arguing, and there is a conservative way of presenting an argument, and that's the way you get listened to by judges.
Okay. All right. Dan, if you would like to... we've got one additional minute here for Blair. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add in that at the Public Defender's Office, I fight for personal freedoms, independence from the government intruding into the personal lives of our clients. Fourth Amendment, unreasonable searches and seizures. That is something we litigate every day in the courtrooms, fighting against government intrusion, real conservative values and importance that then affect the liberties of all of us because we change the law in the courtroom when we litigate issues, particularly with all of the new electronic searches that are going on. That was never intended when the Fourth Amendment was created. It didn't exist. So we do stand up for conservative values in the courtroom, even as a public defender.
Okay.
All right, very good. So our next question is going to go to you, Christopher. You get to knock this one off first. COVID changed the landscape of a lot of things throughout our entire country and the world, for that matter. And the Public Defender's Office wasn't isolated from that. So what is the current status, in your opinion, of COVID and the systems and changes that had to be created in response to COVID, and are we still dealing with the repercussions of COVID in the Public Defender's Office?
It's a very, very interesting question. And what I would say to that is that basically COVID's been gone for a couple of years. And it...
Except in the White House, but go ahead.
Well, okay, granted. However, it's been gone for a couple of years. And we've had a couple of years to straighten up and go normal. Okay? Now, we've learned some things. Like, for example, hey, video hearings aren't so bad after all. And video conferencing in certain circumstances isn't so bad after all. But it doesn't justify huge case backlogs anymore. Even at our own office, we had a backlog of things because for a while the court system shut down. But it's just a matter of getting things organized and getting things back on track. And the situation is, the reason why the public defender's office may be having some issues isn't because of COVID. It's because the place has been run on autopilot for 12 years. When you run things on autopilot, that's great, but somebody eventually has to take the helm and steer you away from the mountain. Okay? Because autopilot won't do that for you. Autopilot can't take your plane off or land it either. Okay? And when it's time to land the plane, somebody's got to be the pilot. I'm willing to be that pilot. Okay? It's time we take the public defender's office off of autopilot. And let's get some actual management in there and get some of this backlog taken care of once and for all. The federal government deals with cases not like grams of cocaine, tons, and we can get those out in about 4 months. I don't know why we can't do something like that at the state level.
Okay, thank you, Christopher. Now, Ms. Allen, same question to you. COVID has changed the landscape throughout not only our local communities, but the country as a whole. It had an effect on the Public Defender's Office. And how do you see that prolonging? And is that done now, or where are we in that status?
So we were really fortunate at the Public Defender's Office to have a wonderful IT department. They really were able to steer us through a difficult time. As we remember, the court system shut down in March 2020, and we had about 8 months where there were no trials going on. Everything had to be transitioned to remote very quickly. And our IT department was able to do that, was able to set up a system working with our court administration, the 10th Judicial Circuit, to be able to facilitate virtual court, to be able to facilitate clients going over to the jail facility and getting fingerprinted, still maintaining distance from their attorneys, so as to protect also people who were coming in to serve on juries. We had to figure out a better way for people to come in. It used to be that we would pick juries on Monday in a criminal case and the trial would be later on in the week. We don't do that anymore. We have facilitated ways to have more trials to work through this backlog of cases. So now we have stacked cases every day that are set to go to trial of the week, and we work through those cases. When you shut down the court system for an extended period of time, people don't get trials, especially the complicated felony cases where people are charged with serious felonies. Those backlogged, and then cases keep coming in. So we have been working diligently to get through those, working with the state attorney's office, court administration, to try to move these cases through, because everyone deserves their day in court, whether it's our client or whether it's a victim or a witness. And we are doing our best to do that. The system depends upon the public defender's office working smoothly and effectively, and I would do that as the next elected public defender.
All right, and we'll continue this a little bit longer. Looks like Mr. Desrochers, you would like to add another minute conversation to this. Go ahead.
Just briefly, one of the COVID issues is not really a COVID issue. When speaking with Sheriff Grady Judd, one of his complaints of the public defender's office was that there were a whole bunch of people in his jail eating his food, occupying his space, and using lots of hourly wages for corrections officers for people with second-degree misdemeanors who'd been there more than 90 days. Well, the maximum sanction for an M2 is 90 days. Why wasn't somebody at the public defender's office doing something to spring them? They'd already done their time. Even if they go to trial and get found guilty, it's time served. Okay, get them out of there. Save us some money. Save Grady Judd some problems. Why wasn't that going on? The place was running on autopilot. They were only doing changes because they had to do changes.
Okay, and Blair, you'd like to rebut that for about a minute?
I just wanted to correct. The maximum penalty on a second-degree misdemeanor is 60 days.
Yes, 60. That's right. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, so 60, not 90. Okay, very good.
But Grady said they were hanging out there for 90 days and longer.
Okay. All righty. Okay, so we're gonna hold to the rules here if we would. We'll make sure that we kind of do the 1 minute thing back and forth as needed. But right now, though, we've got to take one of these little commercial breaks. But I've got a good one. I've got a fun one that I'm going to ask next. It's actually not so much fun for you two, but it's fun for me, and that's all that really matters. And as D&D Live, the debate series continues. D&D Live, Don Elwell, Dane Andrews, the candidate series, the debate series continues. This one, of course, for Public Defender 10th Circuit, and it is between Blair Allen and Christopher Desrochers. Here comes this question, Mr. Desrochers, and there is actually a question attached at the end of this, but here we go. So there is, using a very broad brush from what I've heard so far today, I could typify both of you a little bit, and I want you to kind of tell me where I'm wrong. And a very broad brush would be, okay, Blair Allen is in the office, has been in the office, has been in there for quite some time, doesn't have as much direct budget business experience, but it definitely has that aspect of it being in the office. You do not have that. You're not in the office. You have, and again, using a very broad brush, limited, possibly limited criminal experience. So, but you've got the business experience and the background, if you will, and possibly the budgetary. So you're looking at it from the outside. So prove me wrong. Tell me where if I'm right, wrong, and highlight some of those areas that I just I'm not necessarily hearing for either one of you. Go right ahead.
Excellent. Well, the fact is that you got to be a bureaucrat to run bureaucrats is a fallacy. If that were true, Donald Trump, Andrew Jackson, Abraham Lincoln, Theodore Roosevelt, and George Washington would have been unqualified to serve as president because none of those folks had ever held an executive branch position in their lives. And they're some of the greatest presidents we've ever had. Okay? So the idea that you got to be a bureaucrat to run bureaucrats is false. Okay? Dwight Eisenhower ran a bunch of folks also. He's another one that didn't technically have an executive branch position before becoming president. He beat Hitler and Hirohito in World War II. Pretty decent. Okay? Now, the other interesting argument behind that is that, well, you don't do criminal law all day, every day. Well, about 35 to 40% of my practice is actually still criminal law. Okay? And you can have a hands-on public defender who actually does go represent people in cases. But largely, he's a CEO. He or she is going to be the CEO of the public defender's office. And when was the last time a guy from the CEO of General Motors went down on the line and put an engine together? Doesn't happen. Okay? So that argument's a little bit specious. Okay? What you need is somebody who's got the management and the other experience. And I would also add, my opponent likes to say, well, I've been in every division. I've been this division chief for 17 years. Unfortunately, she's not in the leadership circle. And if she is the division chief, she's the one that's been putting the 130 plus cases on people.
All right.
Okay.
Very good.
Very good. All right, Blair Allen. Let's talk a little bit about again, just really broad brush. Okay. You've definitely got the inside of the office. I'm sure the office workings, if you will, knowledge of it, because you've been there for many, many years. Not so much from what I can understand as far as the management, maybe the budgeted, the executive skills there, or at least background anyway, that I've heard so far. Tell me where I'm wrong on that.
So we are very fortunate within our office to have a fiscal director, to also have an administrative director who helps with administrating our support staff and some of the other budgetary matters. So it is a whole team of people that assist the public defender in terms of where money is spent. I have served in administration within our office. When the caseloads got extremely high about a year and a half ago, I asked to go back into a trial division because I wanted to serve our clients. I wanted to help out my fellow employees, help out on the front lines. It is important as a leader to serve alongside your people, serve by example, and that's what I did. I have served on our office's hiring team. I am still a part of our hiring committee. So I do serve certain critical, important administrative responsibilities, but I also believe that it's important to be a trial attorney, to know what we're doing, to know how our clients are struggling, to know how the system works, and also to have those relationships with the state attorney's office and the court system, court administration, and the judges as well.
Okay. And Mr. Desrochers, you wanted to chime in for a minute on that one.
Yes. So essentially, my opponent's not on the leadership team, and essentially, yes, there is a leadership team out there, but someone who doesn't know how to read spreadsheets and doesn't know how the game's played with accounting, people can play a lot of tricks in accounting. I've represented enough white-collar defendants and poured over enough documents. That's how I wound up learning forensic accounting. You've got to know these numbers. You got to know how these numbers are done, how they're created, because if you're going to start restructuring this office and getting it off autopilot, the first thing you got to do is work with the numbers, because nobody's going to give you any extra money. There's no extra money available, zero. So you got to work with what you got, and you got to be able to read those numbers and be able to balance things to make sure things are right.
Okay. All right. Dan, I think you got the next question, sir.
I do. All right. So, Ms. Allen, this will come to you. We've talked about, and this is what we've heard from our listening audience as questions they'd like to know, is what are some of your solutions to the backlog of felony cases right now at the Public Defender's Office?
I wish that were an easy answer. It's just not.
There's no easy questions here at D&D.
No, there's not. But I will tell you that people who have left our office, attorneys, have reached out to me since I've been running for public defender, and they are waiting to see what happens with the election. They would like to come back to the public defender's office, but they are waiting to see who gets elected on August 20th. They know me. They want to work with me. And having additional quality, experienced attorneys will help reduce that caseload for everyone, and we'll work through those cases, get those clients' days in court. I am also an attorney that knows how to work within speedy trial. If someone is charged with a felony, the state has to bring them to trial within 175 days of their arrest. Sometimes attorneys think with the complexity of a case that cannot be done, that they need more time to work on cases. I have tried a case where my client was charged with first-degree murder within speedy trial. I set that case for trial, I got it tried, and my client was acquitted. So I have shown my attorneys, my friends, my colleagues that it can be done. We're going to be working through these cases. We're going to be moving these cases. We're going to get people's day in court, and we're going to work through the backlog. I am an optimist, and I have some solutions that would enable that to happen. And I'm a good recruiter. I hope to recruit additional staff and make sure that happens.
Okay, thank you. All right, Christopher, same question to you. One of the common threads that we've heard from our listening audience is, what are your solutions to the backlog, and what would you do to get rid of that backlog and work through it?
I think a lot of it has to do with hands-on leadership. You need a leader. And you need leaders who also have other leaders who are willing to evaluate people and figure out how to make cases progress. Okay? We have at least one division chief here with us today that has plans to get the backlog going, but she's been there for how many years and the backlog's still there? Oops. here's the situation. Number one, we got to get the morale better at the public defender's office so that we can actually get resumes. There's more jobs available right now at the public defender's office than they have resumes. And that's sad. It's normally supposed to be the other way around. We've got to get the morale back up. We've got to also get these caseloads down, and one of the ways to do it is by having division chiefs and others start evaluating. Why are these cases sitting around? What's going on? What do we need to do to move them? And hey, I'm a criminal defense attorney. I don't mind being a hands-on public defender. I'll take on some of these cases if we have to. I don't mind. I've gone through boxes of discovery. I've handled complex white-collar cases and murder cases. I don't mind that. Let's do it. I'm willing. I'm a hands-on kind of guy, and hey, if somebody needs to do some investigative work, I'll be the one knocking on that crack house door at 8 o'clock in the morning, asking people questions, because that's the best time to do it. They're a little groggy then, and don't really know where their weapons are at that point. They're more willing to answer questions, because I've done that kind of work before.
Okay. No, at this particular time, you're good?
I'm good. Thank you, sir.
All right. Just wanted to make sure before we went to break. I didn't want to lose that train of thought, if you will. We will be back in just a moment or two. We got more questions. We have more questions. Unlike apparently what you were saying before, we have more questions possibly than you even have answers. We'll have to see. D&D Live. We'll talk about that in just a moment or two. D&D Live, Don Elwell and Dan Andrews with you here on the Meet the Candidates debate series, edition number 1, the battle for public defender, 10th Circuit, between Blair Allen and Christopher DeRushie. And so, well, we've been talking a little bit about all kinds of different things, and some of the questions were a little bit softer. Some of these questions are a little bit more pointed. There's definitely some differences between the two of you. Dan, you've got the next question.
That's right, and we'll start back with Mrs. Blair Allen. This question is kind of a two-part question, handled as you see fit. But one of the things that we hear a lot from the listening audience is there seems to be a lot of repeat offenders that run through the public defender's office. And how do you handle repeat offenders? And what's your angle on punishment versus rehabilitation?
So, over my 16 plus years within the Office of the Public Defender, I have seen repeat clients, unfortunately. If we look at this from a fiscal perspective, it makes sense to try to get at those issues of why that person lands back in the criminal justice system. It is cheaper to do that now than to, as a taxpayer, pay for that person's return incarceration after incarceration after incarceration. So what I would like to start looking at is looking at ways we can address what is happening with that particular client. Mental illness, substance use, is it trauma? Is it poverty-related issues related to homelessness or crimes of opportunity? And if that's the case, if we can provide services to that client, whether that's having an in-house social worker try to connect that client to services. With my background in the community, I know a lot of people who provide community services and trying to solve that client's problem. We are in a unique position as public defender where we form relationships with our clients and they trust us. So what we need to do is figure out how to use that trust to solve that client's problem so they don't wind back in the court system. I will say that at some point, there are some people that are going to wind up going to prison. Prison is not set up for rehabilitation. Prison is set up as a punitive incarcerative sentence. And unfortunately, some people wind up there. But as a taxpayer, I would rather pay less money to try to keep that person out of our overcrowded prison population and jail population if we can for those nonviolent offenders whose problems could be solved simply by making sure that they're on the right medication and that there's money to afford that medication and that keeps them from using drugs to self-medicate. Thank you.
Okay, so same question to you, Christopher. We seem to hear that there's a lot of repeat offenders in the system, and so how would you tackle that issue, as well as what's your position on punishment versus rehabilitation?
The Bureau of Prisons actually studies the tar out of their inmates. And one of the most interesting statistics they came up with is that in the general population, about 3 to 5% of all individuals suffer from either schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or personality disorder type B cluster effect. Those are 3 horrific mental conditions. They're very serious. In the prison population, it's about 55%. So there are some incredible mental health issues going on in prisons and going on with clients. And I've always said it starts with pretrial release. If you have somebody who's on drugs, chances are they're self-medicating for one of those 3 serious conditions that I'm talking about. And so why not at pretrial release? Have a mandatory drug and alcohol evaluation, follow through with any recommended courses of the program. They do that. If there's a mental health issue going on or the judge suspects it, let's do the same thing. Mental health with any recommended treatment, and have the pretrial services do that. The 10th Judicial Circuit already has a special intervention court for misdemeanants and third-degree felons who have mental health or substance abuse issues. It's called problem-solving court, and it's a really, really good court. But there are also some other people more serious that have these mental health issues, and it's a matter of getting that treatment to them. A one-stop shop for the public defender's office, I'm not too sure about that, because then you run into the problems of what happens if somebody fruits out on their drug treatment. What are we going to do? Turn them into the court? That's a conflict of interest. So, not too sure about that. But there are ways you can deliver these services and help make sure it happens.
Okay. Let's, again, back to Mr. Desrochers, who will be first this time here. If elected, obviously for either one of you, your job description changes completely versus what it is today. Mm-hmm. So tell me the one thing that you think is setting you up really, really well for that new job, along with what you think is how many, or the different things maybe that you think might be the hardest to learn if you're elected, the longest ramp up time for those things.
Certainly. I would have answered this question differently several months ago before I took my tour. It's actually my experience doing reorganizations and revitalizations of companies. And the issues I saw within 20 minutes. Now, why didn't other folks at the Public Defender's Office see those issues? It's the same reason why nobody on Joe Biden's team saw that he had the beginnings of dementia. But when he came on the air, the whole world saw it. It's that slow, gradual decline that you see. And nobody sees it if you experience it day to day. But once an outsider sees it, it's like, hey, your grandfather's got a problem. And everybody sees it because it's so obvious to an outsider. And I'll tell you, I'll say this right now, one of the toughest issues that I'm going to be dealing with as public defender is the scuttlebutt system. There's a lot of scuttlebutt going on that I'm going to fire everybody there. I would be a brass-butted fool to do something like that on my first day. Not with the great support staff on one side. There's some great attorneys on the other side. Some of them I know personally, but they're demoralized. You don't fire a demoralized person. You revamp their morale. Okay, that's what you do. You improve the morale. You improve the circumstances over there. You improve how things are done. And I've got a plan to do that with the existing staff and keep everybody. Shoot, if Miss Allen wants to keep her position there while I'm public, she can have it. I don't mind. I want to keep the existing staff. Okay.
All right, and now over to you. Same thing, basically. What do you think is your greatest asset as far as your one thing that's going to help you the most in the new role? In addition to, what do you think is going to be the hardest to learn or the hardest to kind of ramp up with if you're elected?
Thank you. Within the office, there's been no scuttlebutt of people thinking that they're going to get fired if he gets elected. I just wanted to clarify that. But my greatest quality is my commitment to service. That is going to lead me in my role as public defender. I always put our clients first. I always put others before myself. And that commitment to service will serve me well in leading the office by example, showing that we are a client-centered office, that we will do everything that we can to provide effective service to those clients because the system depends upon it. I struggle with being overly empathetic. As a public defender, that's what we do. It is hard to leave the job at the job. I've never been good at that. I am a relentless worker, whether that's waking up at 4 a.m. to make sure I can return those emails, whether it's waking up to make sure I can see those clients virtually on the computer at a time that's convenient for them. It is not a job. It is who I am. I am a public defender. And so I will struggle with turning that off because I go 110% every day. But I try to use that to my advantage and making sure that in that 110% that I am serving our clients and I'm serving the community.
Okay. And Mr. Desrochers, you indicated that you would like to take one additional minute on this topic. Go right
Yes.
ahead.
I'm aware of the scuttlebutt because at least one public defender went on a popular news website and posted this very long thing about how everybody's concerned for their jobs if I become public defender. And they're very concerned about how they're going to all lose their jobs if I become public defender. Now, her comments could be considered disappropriate and rude, but you have to consider it in context. This is a hurting person. They're anxious. They're afraid.
The person that made the comments.
Right.
Right.
The person making the comments, anxious, afraid. They're hurting. You don't go after a person like that. You resolve the concerns. Okay? And I'm here to say, I'm not here to fire anybody. I want to keep everyone.
Okay. All right. Do you want to do the break?
No.
Do another quick question?
Yeah, we're going to do
quick question.
Quick question.
All right, do the quick question.
They're not going to be quick, but
All right, go ahead. That's all right.
Okay. Next question for you, Miss Blair Allen. I think she's next, right?
Yes, she is.
Okay. So homelessness is an issue in all three communities. And what we've seen here locally is Sebring in particular has created local ordinances against camping and things of that nature, extended stay in public space. So what are you seeing on the public defender side, and how do you defend against those local ordinances that seem to be popping up on a regular basis?
So the Public Defender's Office is limited by statute as to what we can and cannot do and who we can represent and who we cannot represent. So a lot of these county ordinances or city ordinances, the Public Defender's Office is not by statute allowed to represent those people. So usually it gets contracted out to a private attorney who's contracted to handle those cases. Now, if they have a criminal case that goes along with that, for instance, something to do with having trespass or something that could go along with that, then we would represent them. It is a problem. It is something that we struggle with. I know that unfortunately a lot of our shelters will be full, and some of them charge $7 a day or whatever it may be, and our clients can't afford that. So I don't know what the solution is. I think trying to connect these clients with the services that are available in the community are important. I think making sure that we have someone within our office to be able to direct those clients to services, whether that is someone through Talbot House Ministries or the Homeless Coalition, but having those connections to be able to enable to try to get those people off of the street really benefits not just the Public Defender's Office, not just our citizens, but our businesses and our greater community as well as a whole, because we want those people to be productive citizens in our community because it helps all of us.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Christopher Desrochers, same question to you. It seems as though homelessness is an issue we're dealing with in all three counties, and we have local ordinances that have been created. And so, what do you see the public defender's role in defending your clients against those ordinances? or within them? Sorry.
Well, it's a fascinating question because
that's what I do here.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot to those ordinances, and usually they are the stepping stones to do the citizen encounter, to do the Terry stop, and then find out, oopsies, they've got contraband on them, and please turn around, and you've got the right to remain silent. And then all of a sudden they become clients at the public defender's office. So yes, these ordinances do generate a fair quantity of clients for the public defender's office, not only in the 10th Judicial Circuit, but everywhere else. How do you solve this issue? Well, that comes to the bigger issue of solving the general homelessness problem, which until recently, the general homelessness problem had a lot to do with mental illness. So it was basically people who were mentally ill and off their meds. But now we have a whole new group of people who are homeless because they can't afford $2,000 a month to rent a janitor's closet at Big Box Apartments Incorporated. Now, I know that's not quite the big problem here in Highlands County, but you go to Polk County and some other places, and there are these big box apartments and there's these villas that are coming up everywhere. And yeah, you can rent there, but it's $1,500 to $2,000 a month, and you've got to prove that you make at least 4 times that amount every month if you want to even consider putting in an application there. And they do check income. So we've got a new group of homeless people showing up, and it's ordinary folks who just can't afford to live in the big box apartments. And that's a new group of folks that require a slightly different solution, which, wow, that one, everybody's still on the drawing board about that one, and I don't think how the public defender could solve that one.
All right. Very good. Appreciate it. It is Blair Allen, of course, and Christopher DeRushie running for public defendant, 10th Circuit, and public defender, rather, 10th Circuit. Not defendant. That's a whole different thing. Public defender. It's a whole different thing.
That's me.
That's you. And in between them, public defendant, Dan Andrews. Who asks fascinating questions. And in any case, we will get to another question, and then, of course, a little wrap-up as D&D Live continues. D&D Live, Don Elwell, Dan Andrews, running through the candidates debate series. Number 1, public defender, 10th Circuit, Blair Allen, Christopher DeRushie. You've got a lot of silent letters there. Anyway, DeRushie for sure.
It's not pronounced how it's spelled.
It is not. It is absolutely not. So in any case, all right, quick question for you. We're going to do about a minute or so on this one. So we'll start with Mr. DeRushie. So we know you represent Highlands, Hardee, and Polk. We care a little bit about Hardee and Polk, but not much. We care mostly about Highlands, obviously. So tell me your specific experience is outside of this campaign within Highlands County.
I've actually done appointed cases in Highlands County, and I actually have active client base in Highlands County. So I'm very familiar with Highlands and with some of the very unique issues that it has. Among others is the transportation and distance issues between Avon Park, Sebring, and Lake Placid, which are the 3 big cities here. And the fact that US 27 controls everything, whether you like it or not.
We don't like it.
I get that vibe sometimes. This is a very unique county with some very unique challenges, especially on transportation for indigents, because last time I checked, you guys don't have a bus system. And it's one of the reasons why I want more regional places for public defenders to meet with their clients. There's a way to do that at a very low cost and not bust the budget.
Okay. Favorite restaurant in Highlands County?
I like that little diner that's run by the folks from Indiana.
Okay.
I like that one.
Sebring Diner.
Is that Sebring Diner?
Yeah.
Okay, good deal.
Okay.
All right, Blair Allen, it is on you now. Tell me about your Highlands County specific experience.
So over the years, I have served in our homicide division within the public defender's office, and periodically we have had cases down here in Highlands County. So several times I've come down and tried cases down in here in Sebring at the courthouse before, Judge Estrada, and spending time down here in the community. We have an office for our public defenders here in Sebring, just right across from the courthouse. In fact, I was there last week working remotely out of our Sebring office, meeting with the Highlands County Sheriff to talk about the interplay between the Sheriff's Office and the Public Defender's Office and how we can have positive relationships, professional relationships moving forward. Our jobs are hard enough as it is, so we need to have those professional connections and relationships to make the system run smoothly. I enjoy getting down here to Highlands County. It is beautiful. I always enjoy my drive, and I hope to do... Oh, I got cut off. I'm done. Sorry.
That's all right.
But you do have to tell us what your favorite restaurant is.
Yeah, real quick. Restaurant and how favorite restaurant.
Oh, goodness. Every time I don't ever have time to eat, so I usually just wind up getting drive-through from Panera. Sadly, as that is.
Works.
Okay,
That works.
okay.
Yeah. All right. We're going to do a 90-second wrap up, and 90 seconds primarily just to say, tell us again why we should vote for you, and how they can get in touch with you, and how they can learn more about you. All of that. We'll start with Christopher DeRushy.
All right. Thank you. My name's Christopher DeRushy. I would certainly appreciate your vote in the August 20th primary. Check me out on cadforpd.com. That's cadforpd.com. I am your conservative choice. Like I said, been a Republican lifelong, and essentially I've got the skills to reorganize this place, bring up the morale, and take care of business and get this thing off of autopilot for the first time in 12 years. Good heavens. That needs to be done. And furthermore, as far as your choice, you've got a choice between two folks. You've got a choice between a strong conservative Republican who's solid on the Second Amendment, and you've got another person who's a member of who basically is affiliated with the NAACP. So it's your choice, folks. You've got your pick, and I would appreciate your vote for Public Defender. Thank you.
All right. Blair Allen will give you 90 seconds for a wrap up. Go right ahead.
So my name is Blair Allen. I'm asking for your support at the polls August 20th to be elected as public defender for Highlands, Hardee, and Polk County. I believe in what we do as public defenders, defending our clients, serving as a check on any government overreach, challenging the system so that everyone gets a fair trial. I believe in our clients, their plights, their trauma, even their mistakes. I believe in our legal system. I believe in justice. I believe in being a public servant, placing others' needs before my own, giving back to the community that raised me so I can be a positive change maker in it. I grew up in this community. I love this community. I want to raise my children in this community. You can reach me at ALLENFORPD. That's allenforpd.com. I'm also on Facebook, Allen for PD. Please check me out. I represent clients across the board, whether that is children of members of the NAACP or whether that is children, friends, or acquaintances of people in the Republican Party. The public defender represents everyone, not just one party or the other. I'm asking for your support to be elected as the public defender for Highlands, Hardee, and Polk County. My name is Blair Allen. Thank you.
All right. I want to thank both of you for being here today. We certainly appreciate that. I think it's been great debate, and it's going to be Highlands County's biggest opportunity to learn a bit about the public defenders. This debate will be posted live or archived, I guess, on our website. So we'll make sure we announce that when it becomes available. Next week, Dan, we've got another
taking the
big
show
one.
on the road.
We're
going down to the Caladium Festival. But before that, we've got another interview scheduled with Mason Whidden.
Yes, on Thursday.
Who's running for Highlands County School Board. And then, of course, Friday, we got the big Rumble in the Jungle, the debate that everybody wants to hear. That's the debate for superintendent of schools for Highlands County.
That's right. Could be the calamity in the Caladiums. We'll have to see how that works out there. Certainly invite both of you, by the way, if you've not been to the Caladium Festival, get down there. Lots of people down there, and, of course, lots of bratwurst. All right, very good. D&D Live, we're out.